711 is the address of the emergency.
Right now I'm feeling very suicidal.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 15.
Do you want EMS to take you to the hospital, or you just want someone to come and talk to you?
I want EMS to take me to the hospital.
All right, just
right now. Hurry, please. Well, I'm gonna hang up the phone now, but please send them, okay?
Tell me how this case started.
So the mental health call is what kicked off this entire investigation for this case.
I thank everybody for joining us today.
In November of 2023, officers with the Fayetteville Police Department responded to a call at the Deven home on Berrydale Drive for a mental health crisis. The victim that was going through the mental health crisis told authorities that he had not seen his brother Blake in 5 years, and that the last time he had seen him, he had a broken arm.
A person at that home told officers that Blake Deven had not been seen in 5 years, 5 whole years.
Fayetteville detectives have confirmed Blake Deven has been missing since 2017.
Avante Deven is the adoptive mother of Blake Deven.
Avante only reported Blake missing after our investigation began.
711 was the address of the emergency.
I need to file a missing persons report.
All right.
So it's time to call 911.
So your 17-year-old son is missing?
Yes.
What was he last seen wearing?
I don't even know, ma'am. He told me he was going to a Buddhist retreat and never called back.
When was that, ma'am?
It was a year ago.
Where was he at when he went missing?
I have no idea, to be honest with you, ma'am.
When did you last see him?
During those holiday times, about a year and a half ago.
So what holiday time?
The last holiday, it was between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Around November,
2023 or 2022?
Oh, goodness gracious. 22.
And then that led to more questions where, okay, well, this person's been missing for so long, you're now just, reporting it.
Was there any picture of this Blake Deven?
We did get a picture, and there was one photo that was from 2012. That was the last known photo of him. Do you think it's a little strange that over the course of 12 years, not one other photo was available? And that's when we also hear that another person was missing related to the same case, and that this is an adoptive sister. So London Deven went missing.
When investigators began to look into Blake's disappearance, they learned that 28-year-old London Deven had also not been seen in quite some time. Avante never reported London missing. The last confirmed independent sighting of London was in 2019.
We knew this story was really unlike anything we had covered since the beginning. 2 people missing from the same home. Both hadn't been seen in years. My name is Kristen Severance, and I'm the investigative documentary reporter at WRAL. We will take you through this entire case with people like my colleague Chris Levingood, who has covered this story from the very beginning.
The story just had so many holes.
We'll take you through police reports and court documents, share interviews with biological family members.
He's my first love. He is. Oh, goodness. Where do you even begin with him? He's just so beautiful.
Former social workers who worked with the family.
All we knew that these children were missing for years, and no pictures and no credible story.
But this documentary isn't just about Blake and London Deven.
As detectives began to unravel the facts, we discovered 5 children were adopted by Avante Deven from 3 different North Carolina counties.
5 children taken out of homes. Now you got 2 just completely disappeared. But there's no really record of any of them.
It's about the foster care system in North Carolina.
She fooled everybody.
We'll investigate how the foster care system is set up and how it failed the very kids it's supposed to protect. How broken is the foster care system in North Carolina?
It's broken.
How broken is the adoption system in North Carolina?
Exceptionally broken.
It's because somewhere these kids fell through the cracks. these parks are some of the last places I got to see them play.
We met Felicia Chandler at Lake Louise Park in western North Carolina in late 2024.
There's Mr. Trenton. He had lost his 2 front teeth.
She brought hundreds of pictures of her son with her.
Oh yeah, honey, I've got lots and lots and lots more.
He was born Trenton Schuler on May 10th, 2006.
I mean, he's just so beautiful. He had the biggest blue eyes. That's all Trenton. This is actually a picture of him in the hospital. He fought to be here, you know, he was so little. He was only 3 pounds and 10 ounces. He was born early, but he was a fighter. And he came right out of that NICU. He wasn't in there in no time at all. He was very strong, always very strong.
Tell me about those first few years, I mean, as a family.
Oh, it was amazing. It was wonderful. It was everything I ever dreamed of, to be honest with you.
Felicia had 2 more sons, Devin, born in 2008, and Gabriel, born in 2010.
I mean, I got lucky. I got 3 boys. I really did. You couldn't go wrong with 3 boys, and they loved their mama.
In 2011, when the boys were 5, 3, and not even 1, the Department of Social Services in Madison County entered their lives. What happened with DSS? Why did they get involved?
They initially got involved due to alleged domestic violence when there was no domestic violence going on at all at that time.
Felicia said the alleged domestic violence incident was not with the children's father, and the kids were not home at the time of the incident. What do you think is going to happen?
Everything's going to be okay. I've not done anything wrong. They're going to come see my house, and it's going to be fine. I feed my children. I love my children. Anybody that knows me knows that.
Felicia said after DSS got involved, her sons stayed with family members for one night and then were placed into foster care.
Even if there was a domestic dispute, ma'am, why didn't you save me and my children? Why would you just take my children away from me? I never understood that.
She was assigned a social worker, Catherine Hubbard, who worked for Madison County DSS at the time.
What I can say is that Felicia was incredibly motivated.
I was very determined, and the case was reunification. That was the goal, that was the plan.
Avante Deven entered the picture around 2011.
Avante was already involved because of respite. She was like a babysitter for these foster people. That's how she got involved with my boys. Like if they had an emergency or something, she would be like an on-call babysitter.
Felicia was fighting to keep the boys together.
If they're not gonna be with me, they need to be together.
So I met Avante Deven as a foster parent who was interested in adopting the 3 children in our custody at that time.
And so when she stepped up and said that she would take all 3, honestly, I looked at it like a blessing in disguise at the time. And I hate to say that. First I thought maybe she was trying to help me and the boys or something, you know.
Felicia was allowed phone calls with the boys and visits.
This was at this park. Right here was a visit here.
They would meet at places like Lake Louise Park, where we did our interview.
Those are some of my also last memories of them too.
I supervised many visitations for months and months and months. This case went on for years.
Avante Deven had 2 other adopted children in her home, a daughter named London and a daughter named Cherish. Here is a picture of Cherish Felicia took during one of her visits with the boys.
She was usually always at visits with Avante and the boys.
She had 2 children legally placed in her home. She had already gone through multiple agencies, multiple courts, multiple judges in order to have those children placed in the home.
Felicia's case dragged through the Madison County DSS system and the courts from 2011 to 2013.
I know that it was portrayed to me more than once that regardless how this turned out, if I was to get my kids back or not, Avante would always let me be a part of my children's life. And that was very well known even with the social worker. That's not what happened at all.
Catherine said Felicia tried her best, but it was a drawn-out and complicated case.
She did work very hard, and I know that she loves her children. But I will also say Something that I learned many years ago through this career is that often love is not enough.
Avante Deven eventually adopted all 3 boys. It was a closed adoption, meaning Felicia had no rights to her biological sons.
I didn't just stop. Like, I tried to call all kinds of different places to figure out what to do next. And I just kept hitting brick walls and nobody would give me anything. Nobody would do anything for me.
Avante Deven was living with all 5 children in Leicester in Buncombe County.
And then she broke all contact, and that was it. I never seen, heard anything from them again. And that was like in 2013.
Is anyone checking on these kids?
Well, no. After the adoption's done, I mean, the state basically just backs away unless there's some kind of financial support that a family is still getting post-adoption. And we know that Avante Deven declined financial benefits back in 2013.
A former landlord confirmed Deven moved the family from a rental home in Leicester to Fayetteville in 2015. She changed all the kids' names. Trenton was now Blake Deven. Adopted daughter Mariah was now London, and her other adopted daughter Brianna was now Cherish.
A lot of the people in this story, their names are not their birth names. It gets confusing, it gets muddy.
State records showed Deven homeschooled the children at a school called Deven Academy.
5 children taken out of homes, taken out of public schools.
10 years go by. Felicia hears nothing from Avante Deven.
It's like they don't exist. Literally changed all 3 of my boys' names.
In November of 2023, someone at the Deven home on Berrydale Drive in Fayetteville calls 911.
Right now I'm feeling very suicidal.
How old are you?
I'm 15. Hurry, please.
Fayetteville detectives told Felicia that call was made by her middle son, Deven, now a teenager.
He proceeded to try to take his life to get attention because, what was going on, because he hasn't seen his brother in 5 years.
Fayetteville police start investigating in late 2023. Avante Deven calls 911 to report Blake Deven missing in January of 2024.
And Avante Deven on the call essentially says that she hasn't seen Blake in a while. He went to some sort of Buddhist retreat.
Do you think he is a runaway?
I think so, but he is generally religious, and he used to go back and forth about a Buddhist retreat and meditation, things like that, but this time he never called back. It's how he's very independent, high-strung, and very bossy, so it's not really unlikely of his character, but yeah, I'm sorry, man, what was your question? I'm very upset here.
Oh, I understand you're very upset. Do you think he's a runaway?
I would say so, yeah.
Do you have a good phone number for your son?
No, I don't. I don't have any phone number.
When the 911 call was released publicly, none of that makes sense to me. As a mother, as a social worker, how did he get there? How would he not have phone contact?
Fayetteville police put out a press release in March of 2024 that Blake Deven is missing. And while he's 17 years old, the last known photo of him is from when he's a child. They also released an age progression photo of what he might look like.
And then we hear about London Deven later in April.
In April, police report Blake's adopted sister, London Deven, is also missing. She's 27 years old. Her picture is also from when she's a child.
Avante never reported London missing. The last confirmed independent sighting of London was in 2019.
I can't even begin to fathom how Avante did not have any pictures of these children.
When is the big break where some of these things start making sense?
We received the press release that skeletal remains have been found. And then I learned from both Blake and London's biological mothers that the FBI had taken DNA samples from them.
But they wanted DNA. They wanted, and that was the scary part.
Fayetteville police confirm Felicia's worst fear in June of 2024.
Our investigation has led us to evidence that both Blake and London are currently deceased.
Homicide police did arrest Avante Deven.
Avante Deven was arrested at her home on Berrydale Drive.
So the actual charges she's facing: first-degree murder, concealment of death, kidnapping, and felony child abuse. Now, in terms of what specifically happened, that's a little more hard to hear.
Fayetteville police allege Avante Deven abused the children.
Avante Deven kept them in small rooms in complete darkness at times. They were given little or no food and could earn nourishment through by, quote, doing paperwork. That means they had to write hundreds of paragraphs to apologize for behaving. It is alleged some of the children were also beaten to the point of needing medical care, but only natural cures like honey were given.
I can't even say some of the words that was done to my child. I can't even say them. And no child should ever have had to went through that. In a small room, having to write and make sure that it's good enough and make sure it's perfect enough, because if not, he's gonna have to do it again and again and again until it is, just so he can get something to eat.
The investigation uncovered Blake likely passed away while the Deven family lived at the Eichelberger Drive home. We believe he was mentally abused, he was physically starved, and his body could no longer take the inhumane treatment. Then, Avante developed a plan to hide Blake's remains, and she forced another person in the household to participate. They dismembered him and burned his remains.
Detectives allege London Deven also died from abuse.
Interviews uncovered information that a different member of the household had been forced to participate in removing London's body from that home. She is believed to have died in the same painful way, in the same painful, callous manner that Blake died from, starvation and neglect.
Police said they found a metal burn barrel at a home where the Deven family lived.
Forensic testing confirmed the barrel contained 2 separate sets of human remains. The first round of testings confirmed one set of remains belongs to London Deven. Testing on the second set of human remains is ongoing.
Avante Deven has pleaded not guilty. She's in jail, awaiting trial. Her attorney declined our multiple requests to comment. But you keep finding out more information.
And people started sending me tips, including with one person who actually had a recorded confession of the person who admits to dismembering the body of Blake Deven.
After Avante Deven's arrest, a man named Nathan Mitchell reached out to Chris Lovingood.
Everyone who was involved in this needs to be held accountable.
Mitchell had an audio recording he took in 2022 of someone who lived in the Deven household talking about what happened to Blake Deven. Here is a portion of that recording. Parts of it are graphic.
It's about my mother and I need to talk to somebody. My mother starved my oldest brother. She starved him so much that she killed him, bro. And then she didn't call the ambulance. She didn't call the police. She didn't try and make up a story to tell them, oh, well, he passed away. She literally had me buy a trash can, dude, and keep him in there for a month. And then after that, she literally had me buy a saw to cut open and disintegrate body, dude. Like, this messing with my head.
When you hear that, your immediate question is, well, why didn't you say something sooner if you heard this in the recording? And what he says is that he didn't believe this person. He said they sort of lied to them in the past. But then after Avante Deven was arrested, his wife messaged him and goes, hey, I think you need to listen to it. And the FBI eventually reached out to him. He gave them a copy of that recording.
I just don't understand how you could even do that to somebody, let alone a child. And then you hear about the burning barrel. Then you hear about a chainsaw. I hate chainsaws. Sometimes that's all I can hear.
Because that person in the recording has not been charged, we have made edits to remove words that would identify the person, and we've altered their voice.
In the original story, you never name the person on the recording.
Well, no, because, they weren't charged, so why name the person if they're not facing charges? But then fast forward some months, and they actually reached out to me requesting to be interviewed.
And who was it?
Cherish Deven, Blake Deven's sister.
Okay, my legal name is Cherish Deven.
Cherish, the little girl Avante Deven adopted before the boys, was now an adult. She wanted to talk about what she says she experienced in the Deven household.
I was being starved as well and being beaten and locked into a bathroom as well. It got to the point where I was hiding dog food in the vents just to eat because I was that hungry.
She said she was there when Blake Deven died.
I'm panicking, I'm crying because I'm scared. I was in the room when he took his last breath. I was in the bathroom where he took his last breath, and I said, he's not breathing, something's wrong. And she wouldn't listen to me.
She confirmed she was the person on Nathan Mitchell's recording.
Just to clarify, that was you in that recording that your former partner provided.
Yes.
What else did she say?
She said Avante Deven made her dismember and dispose of Blake's body.
It wasn't that I was like, I wanted to do this on my own. Again, I was forced to do it. And detectives know this, everybody knows this already. It disgusts me that I can live with myself knowing what I've seen, what I've done, because someone led me on. She was using me. And so I thought that as a child, because I was in the foster system, I thought that that was love. I had no idea what love is. So I trauma bonded with her.
She said she will testify if called to at trial.
That's why I wanted to come on here today, because no one understands what we've been through. Just not me, not just me, but 5 kids. 5.
5 kids. Just to torture them. Mentally and physically, just torture them. Why? Who does that?
Coming up, just who is Avante Deven and how did she adopt 5 kids?
They died. They went from one home into foster care, got adopted, and then died. What happened in the system that clearly failed these 2?
Someone needs to be held accountable, because Avante Deven is not the only one at fault here.
This is not London and Blake's fault.
And I'm sorry, I just feel like if you're gonna take a child away from their biological parents, period, point blank, you should do some thorough investigation on that person you're gonna be handing that kid over to.
She presented as someone who had had experience.
Former Madison County DSS social worker Catherine Hubbard said certain things felt off about Avante Deven, but nothing she could take to a judge.
There didn't seem to be any logical way that she had the financial resources to have 5 children in her home, and yet she had been approved for that.
Deven was a licensed foster parent from 2007 to 2013 through a nonprofit at the time called Grandfather Homes.
That role of checking on Avante Deven's records was not part of what was my job, because she was licensed through a private entity of Grandfather Homes.
The agency requires 40 hours of training and a background check. The agency said Deven gave them 7 letters of recommendation, including 2 from behavioral health agencies. Cherish Deven said Avante Deven should have never been allowed to adopt her or the other kids.
There's no way on this God's earth that Ava could have gotten away with adopting 5 kids single and with 9 different aliases. There's no way.
We were all lied to and misled by someone who never had anyone else's best interests at heart.
Fayetteville police released information in August of 2024 that Avante Deven had at least 8 possible aliases. Detectives released this photo of Deven from the 1990s when she went by Prentice Adams or Michelle Spiegel.
And I don't understand how all the different aliases never caught up to her until now. I have no idea how Grandfather Homes and all these agencies, DSS and all them, missed all that information.
There are nearly 11,000 kids 21 and under in the foster care system and 6,000 foster care homes. North Carolina is one of just 9 states in the country with a state-supervised, county-administered system. That means the state supervises 100 counties who all run their own programs.
I think that having 100 counties administer statewide policy in 100 different ways is extremely problematic.
Democratic Senator Sidney Batch, who represents Wake County, is also a family law attorney and social worker.
I equate DHHS as a life coach. They're like, good job, DSS. We want you to do really well. Oh, by the way, this is a new strategy or a policy.
She said it's really up to the county DSS director if they even listen to the state.
DHHS does not have the ability, except for very extreme conditions, to be able to go into a county and really oversee what they're doing.
You have counties, some are performing really well, some are struggling, and some are in a state of crisis.
Karen McLeod runs the nonprofit Benchmarks and is a member of the state's Child Fatality Task Force. She said of the 9 states with a county-administered system, North Carolina spends the least, so the cost of running the child welfare system falls on the county.
Those counties that are of lower wealth, they have a lot less money to be able to spend, so they have a lot more turnover, which creates huge stressors for our counties.
There is no central statewide IT system for DSS departments, meaning a social worker in one county can't log on and see a child's history from another county.
The data and where children are in the state, completely fragmented. If you wanted to know how many placements a child had in the state of North Carolina, where they were, where are you going to go? I mean, we're building a statewide system to track children, their well-being, et cetera, but we're still building it.
There is no statewide central phone number or uniformed intake system to report abuse or neglect.
Right now, every county has a number, an individual number that you call for a report of abuse and neglect. And that means that there's 100 different counties that are reviewing those calls.
Senator Batch introduced Senate Bill 625 in 2023 that would have meant big changes to the child welfare system.
So when we filed the bill, we gave DHHS the ability to go ahead and have more oversight.
It passed unanimously through the state Senate.
So it's a really large swath of people that have actually supported the bill. Unfortunately, it stalled in the House and did not pass before crossover.
Who blocked it?
From my understanding and what I've been told, it's Representative Sarah Stevens. She did not like the authority piece with regards to oversight from the Department of Health and Human Services and did not feel like they should have as much power over local DSS offices. What I would say is if we had a functional system right now, we could continue to work with 100 different counties, but we have children dying in care.
Are there Republicans who support this effort?
Senator Bergen is also someone that has worked with me tirelessly in the child welfare space.
Republican Senator Jim Bergen represents Harnett, Lee, and Sampson counties.
I tell folks that every time you take a child and put them in a different environment, sleeping on a different pillow, you chip off a little piece of that child. And eventually, you know, you crack them. And we just can't keep doing this.
So the legislation that failed, it passed the Senate, bipartisan support, made it to the House. Now, obviously, you're on the Senate side, but there was a Republican, representative who blocked it. Sarah Stevens.
Sarah and I are friends, and she's a lovely lady and a good legislator, and I think I think there were some things that we just didn't explain well enough, and we just need to sit down and go through things with her. And, politics is a funny thing. Sometimes timing is everything.
Stevens told WRAL she thought the legislation was too broad, and so did the counties. So I asked, what should be changed for a stronger and better system? She ignored our multiple requests to do an interview or to clarify her comments.
I don't know why you would sit there on your hands and do nothing. Our kids deserve more.
Batch plans to reintroduce a new version of the bill in 2025. Even without the legislation, DHHS said changes are happening to the foster care system.
We have a lot of things in progress.
Susan Osborne is a deputy secretary at DHHS. She said there is now a regional system for the 100 counties.
So we have 7 regions, 14 or 15 counties in each region, and one person supports each of those 14 or 15 counties in safety. So they focus only on, are you making the right intake decisions? Are you providing the right good, strong safety plans?
The state will now reimburse family members up to $400 a month who step up to foster a child but aren't licensed. This is called kinship care.
And we want to do that because we know when kids are placed with their families, their well-being improves, there's less trauma in their life.
There are funds set aside for mental health.
22 million recurring dollars to focus on gaps in the mental health system for children in foster care.
All improvements to help what Osborne calls a struggling system, but not a broken one.
So I don't think we meet the definition of broken. I think the system has struggled.
We did interview all these people, lawmakers, social workers, and they do have some tough things to say, right? They say the 100 county system doesn't work. There's no IT system. So if they're saying it's broken, but as someone who's in charge, is saying it's not, are you worried how that's gonna look?
We've made progress, and there are a lot of things in place now that weren't in place 5 years ago. And there will be more on our list in the future.
Next.
This isn't your typical story of where the mother didn't fight.
Felicia's fight to make sure no child ever slips through the cracks.
I did fight for my boys, and I still am, and I always will.
Felicia Chandler has been carrying her boys' baby items and stacks of paperwork and folders for more than a dozen years now.
They deserve to know the truth. And that is one reason I have kept and made sure to keep all these files, because you're probably wondering, what made you keep all these things? Because one day I hope I can sit down with them and go through all of this with them and explain to them really what happened and tell them the truth. Because there's so much more. There's so much more to this story.
Seeing her two sons is something Felicia dreams about.
I hope one day my boys figure out who I am, and I hope they would like to meet me. We are at the Madison County DSS.
But she knows the system who took them away, the same system caring for the now teenagers, would have to make that happen.
I really wish they would just give me my boys back. It seemed pretty cut and dry and simple for them to take them away from me and put them with complete strangers, but so complicated to just give them back to their mother. Here, Cheyenne, just put those down and hold this one.
She's stood in front of the Madison County DSS office several times with posters, hoping to share their story.
I don't want Trenton to be forgotten. I don't want his brothers to be forgotten. I don't want Mariah London to be forgotten. All their stories deserve to be told. They showed me how to love with all my heart.
She's fighting to get the state to do some sort of check-in on kids at least 6 months after they're adopted, even if foster parents don't sign up for financial assistance.
I hope all moms, dads, grandparents, aunts, uncles, I hope every one of them there is to help stand and fight this with me. But if not, that's okay. Because I will do it by myself. I'm just hoping not to this time. I hope this message finds Devin and Gabriel. I am your biological mother, Felicia Chandler. I was really hoping to be able to tell you this in a different way, but here we are. And I just want you to know that I love you both so very much. Always have, always will. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about y'all or look at y'all's pictures, or I long for the day to meet you boys, to see you again. I'm always here. If you ever need anything, I'm always here. I'm always here. And I do love you very much.